What's happening, guys? It's DK Priori, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Try Linux. And this week we're taking a look at Debian. Debian is another distribution that uses the GNOME or GNOME desktop environment, and I think this is a good opportunity to talk about that because you may be wondering, back in the first episode when we looked at Ubuntu, why there are so many community-driven attempts to get away from the GNOME desktop environment that Ubuntu comes packaged with. And the reason for that is there's actually quite a lot of hate towards GNOME within the Linux community. Now, this is something that I didn't fully understand when I first started this series. I knew a little bit about it, peripherally, but I didn't know that it was so prevalent. Just a quick Google search of GNOME or Genome Hate brings up, why does GNOME get so much hate? Why does everybody hate GNOME? I hate Unity, I hate GNOME, I hate Windows 8. You wouldn't be the only one that hates Windows 8 there, buddy. And everybody questioning, either questioning why GNOME gets so much hate, or actually coming out and saying, I love Ubuntu, but I can't stand GNOME, like right there. That's not the only one, and there are a number of reasons for this. There's a great video about it, which I'll link in the description, and you can go and watch it. It's called We Need to Talk About GNOME. I think that does a pretty good job of explaining where some of the different angles of GNOME hate is coming from. From what I can gather, the change between GNOME 2 and GNOME 3 was so massive. They got rid of so many features and replaced them with other features that people didn't like, and they had to adapt to a whole new desktop experience that it just put a lot of people off. There are arguments that GNOME's resource heavy. There are arguments that it's poorly optimized for a desktop or laptop experience and is more geared towards tablets, and you can sort of see that, clicking on activities and bringing up this full screen, very animated sort of application list. That is very tablet-esque. That is something you would expect to see on a tablet, where you can sort of bring up a full screen of activities or software, and then like touch on the one you want to launch on the actual touch screen of the tablet. You can see why people don't really like this too much. So yeah, I am on the fence about it a little bit. On the one hand, I don't know enough about the debate around GNOME to give a qualified opinion on it. On the other hand, I can definitely see where some of people's problems with GNOME lie. For example, that it's poorly optimized and that it's better for a tablet experience. That's definitely the case. The animations of launching everything, making it kind of sluggish. You can turn that off in the settings. If I search for the settings, see what comes up. Or would it be under tweaks? Because there was a tweaks option as well. Appearance. Let's have a look. Attach modal dialogues, edge tiling. No, we want all that. Top bar. That's already set the way it is. I don't know. Apparently you can turn off... Oh, there you go. Right under general. Turn off the animations, and apparently that improves the performance of GNOME really well, really effectively. So we'll try that. Appearance. Let's... Oh, that's all good. It's pretty fast. It's pretty nippy. We've only got one option to choose from here, so if you wanted to change the background, you're probably going to have to download another image. So we'll stick with this one for now. Let's have a look at the rest of the tweaks though. I'm interested. So that's all good. That's all good. These are all extensions, user themes, load shell themes from user directory. Let's have a look at that. Fonts. You can change all the fonts and stuff, keyboard and mouse. Startup applications you can change. So that, as you'd come to expect with GNOME, there's not a lot of customization available. You know, everything's already set in place. You've not got a sort of KDE experience, or even when we looked at Ubuntu Mate last week and we saw Mate tweak, you know, giving us a bunch of options from docks to top bars and all that sort of stuff. We've not got a lot of options here. Let's maximize that. So there's no maximize button. You just double click in the window bar. So let's have a look at the About Debian page. So it's pretty much standard information here. It's a free operating system, and at the core is the Linux kernel. But this is an interesting little bit of information. Work is in progress to provide Debian for other kernels, primarily for the herd. The herd is a collection of servers that run on top of a microkernel, such as Mach, to implement different features. The herd is free software produced by the GNU project. So that's under development. I think that's a new kernel for servers. Interesting. I like that. So a large part of the basic tools that fill out the operating system come from the GNU project, which again, that's kind of standard. So yeah, this is all pretty standard stuff. So what we know about Debian is that, first of all, it looks almost identical to Fedora. Like, it's pretty... You know, it's pretty... like I say, it's almost identical to Fedora. You know, and that'll be because of GNOME, quite simply. Immediately, I don't really see much difference. Everything's very, very similar. performing okay. You know, maybe part of that is because I've turned off the animations. But yeah, it's definitely not a slow system. So I think this notion that GNOME is somehow sluggish, maybe that's outdated. I don't know for sure. I don't know 100%, but I've never had a performance issue with any GNOME desktop I've looked at in this series. That's Ubuntu, Fedora, and now this one. So that's 3 distros we've looked at that all use GNOME, and I've never had a problem with performance. The one that stood out to me as being problematic in terms of performance was Manjaro, and that was KDE Plasma. But I think there were other reasons for that performance issue with Manjaro. I think that had a lot to do with it not being really that well optimized for a virtual machine, even though the virtual machine I'd set it up on was pretty good. I don't think Manjaro suited well to being on a virtual machine. That's just my take on it. I could be wrong, and feel free to let me know if you disagree with that. But my take on it is that Manjaro just did not perform well as a virtual machine. But all these other ones are, especially the GNOME ones, are doing, they're putting in work. So let's have a little play around. I'm interested to see if there's anything I've missed in the tweaks. It's definitely, I definitely see where people are coming from with things being optimized for a tablet. I can definitely appreciate that. But then again, all these oh nice, let's go dark. All these sort of the window management aspect of it is desktop. So far though, I am preferring Fedora. I think Fedora was a more complete desktop experience within the GNOME desktop environment. This to me seems a little, even though they're very, very similar, this to me does seem, it's GNOME. It's, in this instance, it is quite geared towards tablet and those kinds of devices, and also there's not a lot of options for customization, which is definitely something that attracts me to Linux, and it's definitely something that I'm going to want for my Linux build. When I put it together, I'm going to want to have that customization, or the levels of customization that I come to expect from something that's open source. So that's not really prevalent here. There's a few little tweaks you can make here and there, but nothing massive. Now that we've got rid of the animations, though, it's definitely running so much faster. And we never really had a problem with speed anyway, but it is definitely running, nice and speedy, shall we say. Okay. So just looking through here, people also search for Fedora, Ubuntu. It makes sense. They're very, very similar. Yeah. I mean, all in all, you know, diving into Debian like we have done, sort of blind, there's not too much I can say about it because it's so much like Fedora. It's almost indistinguishable in terms of just the way that it functions out of the box. It's indistinguishable from Fedora. Obviously, there are changes under the hood that make this desktop environment, I mean this distribution, distinct from Fedora. That much is clear. However, just looking at it, it's essentially the same thing to me. Granted that we had more options with Fedora, and like I say, Fedora seemed, just in using it, it seemed to be a more complete package. But Debian's okay. I'm not going to shit on Debian. It seems alright. I'll be honest, it's probably not the distro that I'm going to be going for on my build. But it's very sleek. Personally, I don't have too much of a problem with GNOME. I think a lot of the issues, when I've looked it up, a lot of the issues that people have with GNOME are sort of outdated. The problems that they have with GNOME have been fixed, and I think that the source of the issue came when the developers changed the change from GNOME 2 to GNOME 3. That transition was far too quick. The change was far too noticeable, and people didn't like it. They didn't take to it, and they had to adapt to a whole new experience. But just looking at it, I think this is okay. Definitely, I could see this being a good distro. I could see it offering a good desktop experience in a full installation, but it's not the one I'll be going for, and there are two reasons for that. The first reason is the level of customization just isn't there for me, and the second reason is it's GNOME, and I'm not hating on GNOME. Like I say, I don't know enough about the issues, but I think I prefer some of the other desktop environments we've looked at. I definitely prefer KDE Plasma for the customization. I really enjoyed Mate last week. Cinnamon was another one that I enjoyed back in the Linux Mint episode. So I don't think I'll be going for Debian, but that's not to bash on it. It's definitely a decent thing, but if I'm going to be totally honest, if I was to pick between Fedora and Debian, I'd probably go with Fedora. Just putting that out there. So in conclusion, Debian's okay, but it's not the one that I'll be going for. So I've been DK Priori, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.